Hotep Senuhena Senut Itir and Ishakanuku Kemet. I hope you're doing well. I have a question. Did Dr. Jonathan Winnerman contradict himself? What do you think? I may email him out of courtesy. I have no problem against him. He's a scholar. But I've seen something very interesting now. Yesterday, Garfield Reed was live. Well, actually, he went live, but it seems that he played a recording that stated, sometime. But we may get, more details. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think he has played excerpts. But anyway, you have the timestamp, the bottom left corner of the screen. And for all purposes, let me just get the fair use disclaimer out of the way just in case, but I don't think Garfield will flag me, but better be safe than sorry. So let me look for it. There it is. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. So it was sometime in the middle of the night on my end, on my part of the world, and I woke up and I saw the live stream, right? And I must say I'm quite lucky, because a lot of time when I scroll through some videos, I happen to reach some interesting parts. So without further ado, we are looking at Garfield Reed's latest live stream. So those of you who know his channel, you can go through it, okay? My screen recording is not the whole screen, but you know his channel. So you can see once again the timestamp is 28:35. Let's go.
Hey, and that's the famous glyph. Wait. Do we have the famous one everybody likes to use? Do we got that Garfield with the seated?
Yes, yes.
You got that one? Put that one up so we can really get into it. As we get into the meat
Right.
of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna
The
put it up.
real clarity.
So this is this one
Mhm.
that we see a lot of people
Everybody fighting over. They fighting over. That's
fight.
the
They're
black.
fighting over this glyph. They're fighting.
There you
Jonathan, they are
go.
fighting,
Okay.
brother. They are fighting.
They
But
fighting.
this is what the reconstruction, based off the reconstruction, they got. So
Okay.
right now, people are speaking about this in absolute, Jonathan. Like, yes, this means black people. They're stopping the video with you talking, saying, you heard what he said. And they saying, hey, this is what the meaning of Kemet, black people, and they're using the cattle. Oh, before we get to this, we got to go to the cattle first before this.
So I stopped, and it is right now timestamp 29:27. Now, to have a bit of context about what Garfield Reed meant when he said they are fighting over it, Garfield Reed had another PhD, see, called Professor Brand, Peter J. Brand, who is a professor in Egyptology. And back in May, he was on Garfield Reed's channel, and this is what he said. You have the text on the screen. So for those who are curious, right, it's on my channel. I uploaded it a month ago, and it is called Peter J. Brand, Professor of Egyptology, said in 2024 the same thing as Sheikh Anta Diop in 1974. You cannot see the whole title because of the square, the rectangle that I have for the screen recording, but you can see at the bottom right corner, you can see 1 month ago, and you can see the part of the title. So if you are curious, you can go. But for the record, this professor of Egyptology when he was shown what you're seeing on the screen, you have the screen capture at the top, at the bottom you have the hieroglyphic transcript. He said it comes from the word kem, which means black. So kemet means literally that which is black. So if you read this would look like a writing for the black people, or those who are black, referring to a group of people. And if you wanted to write a word that meant those who are black, referring to people, this is how you would write it. Okay? So let's go back to Garfield's live stream of yesterday. Once again, timestamp 29:27. Let's listen.
You
But
want
this
to
is
do the
what,
cattle first?
yeah, we got to do the cattle because the cattle is what they're using to say, hey, you see, if the cattle says X, Y, and Z, why don't this mean
Well,
black?
you want? I got it. I got it. When we put
I got it right here. So this saying that
No.
this means black cattle, but you brought out something earlier that this is actually a what?
Yeah, so this is a word. So if they just wanted to say black cattle, um, meaning male and female cattle, they would have just been able to say chem, so or chemu. So there would have been no T. You see, there's the kind of like this
Half
initial sign, and then there's an owl, and then there's a kind of half circle. This is the half circle is the T. If they, excuse me, if they just wanted to say black cattle, there would be no T. What the T indicates is that they're talking about a feminine thing. And in this case, they're probably talking about cows, specifically female cows. So cows that are, they're not bulls. So you can keep a lot of them together. They're not going to be, necessarily violent, and they're not going to kind of, challenge each other for dominance. They're going to be cows that produce milk, that are very, very, convenient to have in a domestic context, that then when it becomes time to kind of create offspring, you just bring in a single male bull of whatever color that you want, and then kind of he mates with all the females, and then you move him away so that he's not a problem or a distraction. So I think that's how I would translate this word, as black cows or black female cattle, rather than.
Do you hear how he translates this? Now this is Dr. Jonathan Winnerman, for the record, and I will show you his credentials on the university website of UCLA. Okay, so let's listen to it again. Just right now it's timestamp 31:07. Let's go back. Few seconds.
He's not a problem or a distraction. So I think that's how I would translate this word, as black cows or black female cattle.
Black cows or black female cattle. That's how he will translate it. That's what he said. Okay, let's continue.
Rather than black cattle in general.
Okay. Wow. Hold on. That changed the game totally, because they were saying this is the black cattles, as in plural. And then since this sign looks similar to the other sign, this means black people. So that's where the argument is.
Mm-hmm.
The argument right here.
Well, so then this is interesting here, because basically, so now we're looking at something. This is, again, it's so interesting because it gets into the complexity of a language that involves both phonetics and figurative depictions. So you might look at this, if we got rid of the two-seated people and the plural strokes below them, we might look at this and say, oh, this means black women. But then we clearly see in the classifiers that there is both a man and a woman. So therefore, we have to understand this differently. But we still have to take the T into account. Again, if they just wanted to say black people, if they're saying a plurality of male and female individuals, then they default to the masculine plural, just as many contemporary languages do. If there's a kind of a mixed group of men and women, you can use the masculine plural instead of, and you don't use the feminine plural. The Egyptian language worked the same way, but here we have that T. So now we have to take that T into account. So basically, this now, if we take the T into account, it must describe the abstract notion of that which is black. But then there are people that are said to be belonging to that which is black. So this is a word, this is a grammatical term that is in Semitic languages called a nisba. And it's basically when you take an adjective or concept and make it a noun. So instead of saying like, what's a good example? Instead of saying like the verb to be happy, you say the happy one. And you usually do this by adding a Y, which is unwritten usually in the hieroglyphic writing system because it is a weak consonant, and then additional gender or plural markers. And I think that's what we have going on here. So we have a kind of Y that is not written, and then a plural marker. The plurality is reinforced by the figure of the man and the man and the woman. So basically, this means those who are of Kemet. So maybe those who are of that which is black, those who belong to it, those who are associated with it.
Did you hear? Now, what's interesting, he said there is a Y which is not written. Some of you may have heard Kemetiu, right? But we're going to make this simple. Now, I said that I will probably email him, and I think I will do that because out of respect, out of courtesy, I also email Dr. Peter J. Brand. He did not respond. Fine. He's free to do whatever he wants. Maybe he did not. Well, I think he received the message, but it is what it is. It's just out of courtesy, so he's aware. And maybe he's busy. Who knows? Maybe he will respond one day. Maybe he will never respond. He's free to do what he wants. But that's why I'm asking this question. What do you think? Feel free to leave a comment. When there was the cow, now right now it is timestamp 3350. When there was the cow, right, the T was there, right? The Gardner reference X1, what he calls a half circle, the bread loaf or loaf of bread. So what's interesting to me is that he talks about the philology of the language. Is there a grammar rule that changes a translation, the mechanics of the translation, or the grammar or the philology, when we deal with an animal and when we deal with humans? This is something that I'm not aware of. You see? Now, for those who forgot, you see that? The difference here, and we heard his translation. Here he said black cows or black female cattle. You can go back, I'm paraphrasing at this point. But then when you have the seated man and the seated woman, Gardner reference A1 and Gardner reference B1, right? Above the three strokes, which is a mark of plural, right? Then he doesn't say black people. He didn't say black people. So I'm just curious. Is there a grammar rule that I was unaware of? Is this a philology principle in the hieroglyphic or the ancient Egyptian language or the Medu Neter? I'm just curious because I don't know it all and I'm willing to learn. It seems to me, it looks to me that Dr. Jonathan Winnerman contradicted himself publicly. And I could say live on air, but was it really a live stream? It seems like it was a pre-recorded live stream. So it was played yesterday. So here is the UCLA website, right? Near Eastern Languages and Culture. So we do have Jonathan Winnerman. And it says that he is an academic administrator in ancient studies at UCLA and works closely with the governance board to support global antiquity, especially in ancient Egyptian philology, Old Egyptian, through Coptic, and visual culture. He first joined UCLA as a lecturer in Egyptology before becoming a part of global antiquity. Since joining the institute, he has contributed to several successful grant projects and invites interest faculty to reach out to him to take advantages of these services. While his research and teaching are still grounded in the cultures of ancient North Africa, he is interested in the construction and maintenance of kingship and power across ancient, pre-modern, and contemporary worlds. Most recently, this had led him to explore different conceptions of the body politic, the relationships between real and imagined representations of power, and the rise of authoritarianism. His PhD dissertation titled Rethinking the Royal Car examines divine kingship in the Egyptian New Kingdom and argues against a single paradigm paradigmatic approach to the divinity of the pharaoh. Instead, he advocates for a multifaceted examination of the divine nature of the king as well as an analysis of the social dynamics that created and maintained divine kingship. Jonathan is currently working on his first book and expanding the ideas breached therein beyond the borders of pharaonic hegemony. Before joining UCLA, Jonathan worked in Egypt for many years, most notably as an epigrapher with the Epigraphic Survey in Luxor and with the Tel Edfu project. He continues to be interested in epigraphy and epigraphic methodology, especially in the digital realm. He currently teaches ancient Egyptian language in the Department of Near Eastern Languages and Cultures. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. If I'm allowed to by the nature, I will definitely holler back at you. I don't argue, I state facts. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If you do not think right, you will not act right. If you know better, you will do better. Do I to do a nature hotel.